Hello, everyone. It's Art Russell here at Think Twice on YouTube and thinktwice.me at wordpress.com. Today, we're going to dive deeper into our understanding of the law of attraction by my reading a few pages from a famous book entitled Creative Mind by Ernest Holmes. But before we do that, I'd like to clarify why I selected Think Twice as the name of my YouTube channel and also my blog at wordpress.com. By stating think twice, I didn't mean that we should have a busy mind that is always overthinking, always so lost in details that it basically becomes useless. I wanted us to reside in the center of our being and remember that we have always choice about what type of thoughts we entertain. If they serve no useful purpose, if they're negative, repetitive, useless, I'd basically like you to show them the door. Now, we don't show those negative thoughts the door by thinking about them. That only invites more of their same kind. We show them the door by replacing them with their opposites. So, a negative thought that's perhaps haunting you, usher in a positive thought. And the more we do that, the more those positive thoughts become our way of being in the world. And when we be a certain way, we're going to see a different reality. So, moving on. Ernest Holmes, and I'm going to read a little biography here about him from another one of his books before we get into the passage. Ernest Holmes was an internationally recognized authority on religious psychology and the founder of the religious science movement. His inspirational books include the renowned classic The Science of Mind, This Thing Called You, The Art of Life, The Hidden Power of the Bible, and Creative Mind and Success. So the passage, and it's fairly long, but bear with me, I truly hope that you can get something from this passage today, is from his book entitled Creative Mind. I've read it several times. About the law of attraction. And it's also really about that which we truly are. So let's begin. The greater consciousness. Man is surrounded by a great universal thought power which returns to him always just as he thinks. So plastic, so receptive is this mind that it takes the slightest impression and molds it into conditions. There are two things in man which his thought affects: his body and his environment. At all times he is given absolute control over these two things, and from the effect of his thought upon them, he cannot hope to escape. At first, being ignorant of the fact, he binds himself by a misuse of the laws of his being. But as he begins to see that he himself is responsible for all that comes to him on the path of life, he begins to control his thought, which in its turn acts on the universal substance to create for him a new world. Now that universal substance is consciousness. Some would call it God, the unified field in science. We refer to it informally all day long. We say, I am. That's what he's referring to about that substance. The great soul is learning more and more to dare to fling out into mind a divine idea of himself and to see himself perfect and whole. If he has a divine thought, he will get a divine thing. If he has a human thought, he will get a human thing. He will receive whatever his innermost thought embodies. And so we find in the Bible twice repeated these words: to the pure thou wilt show thyself pure, and to the froward thou wilt show thyself froward. It is done unto all as they believe. We often wonder why it is that we are not making better demonstrations. By demonstrations, he means what we're manifesting, what's showing up in our life. We look about and observe that some are getting wonderful results. They are speaking the word and people are being healed. We see others struggling along with the word and nothing seems to happen. And when we inquire into the reason for all of this, we find it to be very plain indeed. All is mind and we are mental. We are in mind and can only get from it what we first think into it. We must not only think, but we must know. We have to provide within ourselves a mental and spiritual likeness for the thing desired. Now, in modern terms, that's called the paradigm. That's the mold or example, what we're imagining in mind. It's what the saying, as he thinketh in his heart, so is he, refers to. Your innermost feelings, what you're imagining for your life. The reason why so few succeed then must be because they have not mentally really believed to the exclusion of all that would deny the thing which they believe in. And the reason why others do succeed must also be because they have absolutely believed and allowed real power to flow through and out into expression. They must have a real concept of life. Hold an object in front of a mirror and it will image in the mirror the exact size of the object. Hold a thought in mind and it will image in matter the exact likeness of the thought. Let us take this image which we hold before a mirror and change it ever so slightly, and there will be a corresponding change in the reflection. It is just the same in the mental world. Whatever is imagined is brought forth from mind into manifestation. We must not deny that which we affirm. We must reason only from that cause which is spiritual and mental and weed out all thought that would deny its power in our lives. This is kind of like what I mentioned at the beginning. Usher those negative thoughts out by inviting positive ones. There seems to be something in the race thought that says man is poor, man is limited, and that there is a lack of opportunity, that times are hard, that there is a lack, that prices are high, that nobody wants what I have to offer. No person succeeds who speaks these ideas. When we express ourselves in this way, we are using a destructive power. Now, this power that comes to us, we get to direct it. Which way? Positive or negative? The power is always flowing through us. We're in it, of it. All such thoughts must go, and we must all realize that we are an active center in the only power there is. We must get the perfect vision, the perfect conception. We must enlarge our thought until it realizes all good, and then we must swing right out and use this almighty power for definite purposes. That could be the dream that you're hoping for. Not hoping for, that you're envisioning. Your great health, your abundance, that wonderful relationship. We should daily feel a deeper union with life, a greater sense of that indwelling God, the God of the everywhere, within us. When we speak into this mind, we have sown the seed of thought in the absolute and may rest in peace. Now, that can be hard for a lot of us to do, but the more we rest, the more we allow. Set it and let it is quite often the phrase that's used for this. Set your goal, plant it. Plant it in mind and let it blossom. We do not have to make haste because it is done unto all as they believe. In that day that they shall call upon me, I will answer. People will often ask, what is the best method for demonstration? There is but one answer to that question. The word, so thought, is the only possible method of demonstrating anything. The word really felt and embodied in our thought. Then the Word becomes flesh and dwells among us, and we behold it and experience it. We will ask for no other way when we understand this. The person who does not understand these laws will be likely to say that this is presumptuous, that it is even sacrilegious, but this comes only from a lack of understanding of the fact that all is governed by law and that all law is impersonal and universal. We have just as much right to use spiritual law as to use so-called physical laws. Strictly speaking, there is no such thing as a physical law, as all things are spiritual, and all law is a law of the activity of the Spirit. The Spirit would be recognized as the only power there is. The greatest use of these laws will always come to the soul that is most deeply spiritual. As such, a one comes to the nearest to using law as God uses it. So to the really great soul, there must come a very close relationship with the invisible God. That's consciousness. We can't see consciousness, but we don't deny that it must be here. Or how could we be conscious of a world, of our body, of our thoughts? This relationship cannot be expressed in words, but only in inner feeling which transcends the power of words to express. You've got to feel the truth of your achieved goal. You've got to feel it. God must become the great reality, not simply as the principle of life, but more as the great mind which knows, and which at all times understands and responds. It's highly sensitive to the most sensitive degree. To say that God does not understand our desires would be to rob the divine mind of all consciousness and place God lower in the scale of being than we ourselves are. On the other hand, we must be careful not to believe that God thinks evil and understands that which is not perfect, as then we would have an imperfect being for the first cause. The first cause would be the Almighty Creator, Spirit. We should more and more learn to think of things in the absolute. That is, to think of things as not limited by conditions. Realize at all times that the Spirit makes things out of itself. Things are appearances in consciousness, in Spirit. Realize at all times that the Spirit makes things out of itself, repeating here again, and needs no beginning except its own self-recognition. Then we must cognize our relation to this great power as one of absolute correspondence, a back and forth, you might think of it. What we think into it, it takes up and does for us as we think. It should not be an effort so to think. We should do so with ease, without strain. The law must return to us. We have no responsibility except to provide the proper channel. It can only return in the exact way that we think. So this is why we have to be careful what we're thinking. Several times through a day, perhaps still yourself and ask yourself, what am I thinking? What have I been thinking? Now, this is where our feelings play a great role. If you're feeling down, it's guaranteed you've been thinking negative or down thoughts. If you're feeling up and buoyant, you've been feeling joyous, grateful, loving thoughts. Your feelings. Tune into how you're feeling. There is a law of reflection between mind and the one who thinks. And it is not only what a man thinks, but also how he thinks, that shall be done unto him. If you believe absolutely that you can do a certain thing, the way will always be opened for you to do it. This is why we don't worry about it. If you're worrying, you're actually diminishing the power that can flow through you. We want to be an open channel for our highest ideals, not the negative ideas that we may be holding. If also you believe that time will have to elapse, then you are making that a law, and time will have to elapse. If, on the other hand, you believe that mind knows just how and never makes mistakes, but lets it be done unto you, then it will be done. Confusion brings more confusion. Peace begets more peace. We cannot imagine the Great Spirit hurrying or worrying, fretting, or trying to make anything happen. See, nothing can be against the one power. This is why it's said that quite often we're our own worst enemies. As egos, get out of your ego and let that force, that power flow through you. The only reason we worry and fret is because we have thought there was some other power which could bring confusion. Such is not the case. There is but one, and we're always using that one, but using it according to our belief. This is our divine birthright. Nothing hinders but ourselves. Remember that since all is mind, you cannot demonstrate beyond your ability to comprehend mentally. That is, your ability to do this will depend entirely upon your ability to see perfection mentally, coupled also with the realization that your word destroys everything unlike itself. If you try to see perfection for a few minutes only, it will never heal. Your thought goes on at all times, and in the moments when you least realize it, conditions are being molded for you. It is not enough to declare consciously for the truth. The truth must be lived, or no good results will be forthcoming. Now, I know that's been kind of a long passage, but I hope that you've gained something from it. I hope you'll really apply this knowledge as you begin to understand it more and more. There's more information. Here I go high-tech again at my blog at thinktwice.me. That's at WordPress. Free articles there. And I also offer more information through my book entitled This Taste of Flesh and Bones, which is available through Amazon. If you've enjoyed this presentation, I invite you to subscribe to the channel or click a like, and I look forward to sharing with you again very soon. Bye for now. Take care.